everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. As you guys see, the world is going outside of my window. I'm just on an hour drive at this point. There are no twists, there are no turns, there's just me, the road, and you. I have an interesting thought thing. So, I want to do something with the channel, and I don't know if I'm going to break this into a channel that's separate. I'm giving myself a challenge. And I know by the very act of noting this challenge that I'm going to be held to this challenge, whether I'm doing it on my own channel or whether I'm doing it on my show. Let's talk about Star Trek. My thought was to go through every episode of Star Trek from the beginning to the end. Now, I love this idea. My wife loves this idea. I want to see how much she loves this idea when her ass is sitting right there with me for each episode. But I've started watching and they're so fucking good. They really are it's an amazing show. One of the episodes had to do with Data, and I'm going to do this in a better way, meaning if this is a show, it's going to be, I'm going to have slides and everything else. But this is mostly me talking with my audience. I bring up these things because I bring up these things about good, bad, right, wrong, morality, and all this stuff on my show. There's an episode, I can't think of the name of the episode at the top of my head, but Data is captured by this collector. This guy has gotten to the point where wealth doesn't matter, because why does wealth matter to you in what context? You have the capacity to make anything that you need. Wealth becomes meaningless, especially when you're talking about the level of multiple planets. So he collects things, and one of the most rarest things in the universe is an android that's sentient. Data and his positronic brain, who looks at the world and thinks about wanting to be a human being. Now, the interesting part about this is, why does Data want to be anything? Data wants his program to be something, a human being. This is what it means to be human, without ever really being able to touch those things about what it means to be human. It's a conundrum. It's a fascinating thing. He's been put into a position that he would never actually accomplish an objective, because there's no objective. It's just to be. The wild part about this is, he's captured. Data is stuck somewhere, and they want Data to essentially stand in a corner and just be property. Data refuses this. Now, in refusing this, a lot of stuff takes place, and I'm going to go into the show and everything else after the fact when I get into the thing, but the crux of what I want to talk about. Towards the end of that show, of that episode, it gets to the point where Data is about to get free. And the collector tells Data, the collector gets a gun and tells Data, either you're going to sit there or I'm going to murder one person after the next until you do. And the ethical subroutines that make you up in your programming as you process the world and process reality will not allow you to stand by while I do this. Meaning, between you sitting in a chair and just being there for the rest of my life and my heirs, or me just murdering one person after the next until you do, you're going to sit there. Now, Data, at this point, is holding on to a phaser. And Data, holding on to this phaser, is pointing it at him, and Data is looking at him thinking like, he's right. What am I going to do? Am I going to allow him to kill one person after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next, until I sit into that chair, because clearly he doesn't care about any of these people? Or I, an ethical android in this case with a gun, that's pointed at this man who has told me he's going to do these things, and who very well, most likely, will do these things. What am I to do? What am I to do? Data points the gun at him. And at this moment, he realizes, maybe I've jumped the shark.
Continue straight to stay on I-95 Express
Maybe I've
lanes.
jumped the shark. I've assumed that Data is going to sit his ass in a chair because he's not going to harm me. Because harming me, in this case, breaks his ethical subroutines. I've also assumed that he's going to sit in a chair because he's not going to allow me to just murder multiple people in doing so. Data processes. He processes. He processes. This android that has the capacity to think billions of things within the span of a nanosecond takes moments, takes seconds to process this question. What am I to do? Is he right? Yes, I have a gun. Yes, this gun is pointed at him. Alright, so I'm going to end this because this connection is flaky. But just to jump to the plot. In this moment, when Data raises this gun, it occurs to Data that he's right. From an ethical point of view, from a logical point of view, if I don't kill him, he is going to kill untold numbers of people. He's already killed 2 or 3 while I sat here. It is more ethical for me to murder this person than it is for me to let him live. It is less to do with me sitting in the chair. Yes, I have my own determinating. I am a person. Even though I am a sentient being, I am still alive. And yeah, I have every right to protect myself. Meaning, even in the context of that, I have a right to justify the murder of this person. This person has already shown me that he's going to kill multiple people. And in that moment, was being to the Enterprise. The Enterprise says, Commander, we found a phaser, and we found a phaser in operation. Data pressed the gun. Data was going to murder him. And not only was Data going to murder him, at the end, when they asked Data, Commander, this gun was in action, meaning this gun you had fired. He says, I don't know what happened. Data lied! Not only did Data want to kill this guy, Data lied after the fact Data was going to kill this guy. That is an amazing episode! That is one of those mind-blowing episodes. This is what I mean when I say when I'm looking back over Star Trek, there are mind-blowing episodes. That it was more to kill this person than allow this person to continue to operate. And then Data lied about the fact that Data was about to kill this person. That is a mind-blowing episode! Yes, I'm flipping out about that episode. These are moral, rational human beings. And there was a moral, rational human being that built that machine. Meaning the logic and the operating procedures that Data is going by for ethical subroutines, came to the conclusion that this is right and this is just. Yeah, that's a fucking awesome episode. Now, here's the catch. Is he right? The show I'm going to have on Star Trek deals with this from more of a political angle or a philosophical angle. Is he right? I'm going to jump to the chase and say it doesn't matter. Right or wrong is irrelevant. What matters is will. What do you want to accomplish? Yes, right or wrong from the context of a human perspective. So, right or wrong is relevant only in the context of human terms. But we're talking about a galaxy. We're talking about a universe. You have all sorts of beings, all sorts of races and creatures. From my vantage point, Data was justified in what Data needed to do. This man had already killed one person. This man was going to kill several other people. And Data's own personal, you can say decision space, was going to be curtailed by a monster. By a goddamn goblin. The fact of it is, though, Data didn't want to explain himself, which makes the story even all the more awesome. Like, this is so fascinating to me. He comes to the conclusion that it's more rational to kill this person, but he didn't want to justify the conclusion to his commanding officers. Yes! Yes! That's uber rational. Now, what I mean by uber rational is, do I need to explain to the elements of the people who are in Star Trek that, yeah, I was going to kill this person because it was just to do so? And what are the implications of doing that? Certainly it's Data. Certainly Data had already went through this idea of what are the rationale, what are the potential outcomes of this. I'm in this society. This society
in half a mile,
values human life to a degree that we can't process. What is the society going to think about this choice? And do I want to deal with the court case? Do I want to deal with the trial? Do I want to deal with my commanding officer? Is Picard going to understand? But Data went through all of these eventualities. And Data still decided to lie. Star Trek is awesome, man. I'm just saying, Star Trek is fucking awesome. That episode is a beautiful episode. Because you can have 5 people who are sitting around the table with you. All of them understand what Data actions, or why Data did what he did. And they would say, well, what if you shot him in the leg? What if you did this? What if you did that? What are the other decisions Data can make? Data made this choice. You're talking about an android that has ethical subroutines. Data is impervious to this idea of pain and want and all this other stuff. He exists, yes, in a mental framework, so there are things where Data may process where he is in the framework of other things. Meaning, what is going to happen to me versus what I want to do. Data has wants. Data does have feelings, regardless of what Data says. If he didn't have any feelings, he couldn't make any decisions on what he wanted to do. He may not have feelings from the standpoint of this hurts, but he's in Starfleet. Why is he in Starfleet? He had to make a choice. They didn't program him specifically for Star Trek. He chose the things that he wants to do. And in that case, Data lied. I don't blame him. I just find it fucking phenomenal. I think it's an amazing thing. They added it into the show. They added that into the show. This is Starfleet Soapbox. I'm talking about the episode where
95 South.
The guy, it was a rich plutocrat who captured Data. And in capturing Data, he made it look as if the ship that Data was on had been destroyed. And Wesley Crusher and Geordi realized that this is a canard, that Data is back there, and that this guy did something. They knew something was wrong. Data, for his turn, the guy was trying to get Data to just sit in a chair because he wanted Data to be part of his collection. Look at all of these things that I own, including this robot that's sentient. Do lose them. If you and have the idea that you find actual dollar, kind of sick of being supported by YouTube. That's all. But yeah, like I said, I may do one episode. God, that's gonna hurt. Going through the entirety of the Star Trek canon. I don't know if I'm going to do that on my own show or if I'm going to do that on a secondary channel. But maybe. Trudy. Oh, Trudy, this is... I've said it 3 times, Trudy. I can't say it again because people are going to get pissed at me. But if you check the beginning of the video, Trudy, when I get home and I do these more formally, I'll give the episode and everything else. This is me talking about this episode while I'm driving. Let me know what you guys think about this. I think right and wrong in this doesn't fully apply. What's moral almost even doesn't fully apply. Morality in this case, yes, from a human context, applies. From my standpoint, whether this is moral. The problem, I think, with morality is that oftentimes it's not an absolute. It's emergent. If you're living in a next generation universe, all of your needs are met. What you would consider to be morality, for the most part, is in normal operating procedure, doing X or doing Y, how does it adversely affect somebody else? That's the way I process it. How does my behavior adversely affect somebody else in the immediate and in the larger context of the world? How do I inflict less harm on the world around me and in the way that I go about my way? That's how I process morality. This isn't purely an individual thing. If I'm doing something that has a wider impact, then it has to be considered. It has to be counted. If the nicest old woman in the world goes to McDonald's to get a sandwich, now the fact that she's a nice old woman doesn't in any way stop the cow from hurting or that was being injured in the pen that the cow was kept. It doesn't, in any way change the fact that the sandwich that she's giving the people that she care about is just made of shit and piss. It doesn't affect the fact that the person who worked at the counter, who were forced to be happy and bubbly despite barely making ends meet and maybe on welfare or something to that effect. There are a string of consequences to the things that people do that they don't think about in the way that they process their actions. When I think of morality and I think of those type of things, I think of that in a larger context, not just in the individual way that people go about their affairs, but in the larger context of the things in the world that we exist. It's hard sometimes to answer questions, specific issues, because sometimes morality doesn't apply in a normal way that we think about morality. Is it who's trying to God? Maybe not. If you guys enjoy the content, Troy could have manipulated me at will too, Steven. I agree with you, man. I had such a crush on her. It's amazing. I was a sucker for Troy, man. She could have... Yes, I was a sucker for Troy. Just let me end this, because this is getting sexist. And it's not getting sexist, I'm joking. But some people might say that. I was a sucker for Troy. And this wild part about Troy is this ability for her to read your emotions. I was fascinated about what that means in the context of a relationship. Do you want to read your wife, Troy? And this wild part about Troy is this ability for her to read your emotions. I was fascinated about what that means in the context of a relationship. Do you want to read your wife's emotions? Do you want her to read yours? Even more interesting. I saw when that woman passed what you were thinking, you asshole, you bastard. You asshole. And you have to deal with a human man too? Oh God. Like her mom was in a relationship with a human male. He's a man, he's a guy. Yeah, he's a guy. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Alright, I'm gonna end this. You guys have fun. I'll see you guys shortly. Thanks everyone.